Hello, loves. Hello, hello. Hills here from the Blue Flame. How are we all doing? Speaking for myself, I can say that I am still riding the roller coaster of this energy. We have had quite the eventful couple of weeks. We had an X7 flare with 24 hours before the Libra eclipse and an X9 less than 12 hours after. It's been a lot. And I shared with a friend earlier today that when I woke up this morning, I was like, oh yeah, it's been a lot, but I feel like I'm starting to integrate. And then I went and took a shower. And while I was in the shower, I felt the like click, 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 click of the wheels, the gears as I started to ride up the hill again of this roller coaster that we are currently riding, at least that I am. And I can feel that it's a big, tall hill and that it's gaining momentum to send me through quite a lot of spins and spirals. And that feels like a really apt metaphor or description of the current of energy that we are navigating right now. This week, we have on the 9th of October, Jupiter stationing retrograde. Then we have a first quarter moon 1010 portal. More on that in a minute. And then less than 36 hours later, Pluto stations direct and begins moving towards Aquarius once again. So in my last video, I promised that we were going to talk about this Jupiter retrograde because it feels big and, it's the biggest planet in our solar system, so that's not surprising, right? I want to feel how we're going to move through this because the 1010 portal itself is a powerhouse of energy. And the first quarter moon occurring during it is highlighting this. So let's take a moment. I feel like all of us could collectively benefit from just taking a few moments, sinking in, grounding in the electrifying nature of this energy current that we're navigating right now. We're riding this wave is quite likely sending all of the cells in your body into a tizzy. They're look at all this light, look at all this amazing energy. Ah! And so let's all just take a moment and connect in with that fast current. And feel how our bodies are equalizing to it. Instead of allowing it to put us into this sort of state, feel your entire being come into harmony with it. You know how when you're nervous about something, your heart will start to beat a bit faster? You can feel it more pronounced in your chest even. And taking some centering breaths can help you to acclimate, to adjust to the energy around you. That's what we're being invited to do in this moment. And then we're going to talk about Jupiter's retrograde in Gemini. Jupiter's been in the shadow of this retrograde for more than a month now. Jupiter is going to turn around at the 21 degree of Gemini, where Jupiter already finds himself. The great benefact, that fairy god being of planets, the good luck charm, the expander of all things, making things bigger, has been navigating through Gemini since the summer. Or it might be the winter for you if you're in the southern hemisphere. But since, I think June is when, late June is when Jupiter entered Gemini, if I remember correctly. Maybe mid-June. And we have been expanding ever since our capacity to express ourselves. We've had big conjunctions while Jupiter's been in Gemini going forward. We've had Venus and Mars quite recently. And we've had powerful aspects. Just before Jupiter entered Gemini in May, we had that big conjunction at the 21 degrees of Taurus with Jupiter and Uranus. This has been an undercurrent running for all of us, this expanded awakening energy. And as Jupiter moved into Gemini, it's expanding our understanding that that which we speak is created. That which we express is the world that we see around us. And this does not have to be consciously. Most of us run this script in the unconscious, in the subconscious. So now I invite you to feel, with that remembering, Jupiter at the 21 degree. So exactly the same degree that was in Taurus, now in Gemini, turning around and beginning to retrace those steps, asking us to dive deeper, to allow more connections to be made to the unconscious and subconscious expressions that we are communicating with the universe of cells that are our being. Can you feel now why we began this in communication with all of the cells that were just before we started to talk about this? It's a reminder, a remembering that when we notice something, we are then able to affect it. This is like an atom that has no specific properties or directionality until the moment it's observed and measured, and then all of a sudden it displays. Quantum physics, right? Our cells, our consciousness is the same. So as Jupiter, between now and February of next year, goes backwards through Gemini, we are enlarging our capacity. We are invited to feel how that energy can enlarge our capacity to explore our sub and unconscious expressions and the ways that we communicate in the finer areas of our being. We are in a constant state of communication. Our heart and lungs are constantly talking to one another. Every cell of our being is in a constant state of communication with itself and with all of the other cells of our body. We couldn't breathe, swallow, move our hands and feet, do that thing that so many of us do, which is walk ourselves home without even thinking about it, if that wasn't true. Part of this beautiful energy that we get to navigate as Jupiter goes backwards through Gemini is making more of those unconscious scripts conscious. Now, this could sound exhausting. Like, how could I ever get anything done during the day if I have to constantly be conscious of my beating heart? And that is not quite what we're saying here, right? It's more having a fine-tuned conversation that allows your consciousness to become aware if there's something your consciousness needs to become aware of, so that you can start to interact with a state of dis-ease before it becomes a flashing red light. Does this make sense? One of the ways that I'm invited to have you explore this energy is to feel or to look at your natal chart and see where the area of Gemini from the 21st degree to 1117, which is where Jupiter will turn around again on February 4th. So this place, the house that Gemini is in, can give you a lot of color as to what individually this might look like for you. The areas that are the most activated for you to engage with. I'll share that for the chart for San Francisco, which is where I am currently, so that's where I ran the chart. This is all occurring in the 7th house. So for San Francisco collectively, for anything that is in this area, the 7th house is inviting this area collectively to explore new avenues of communication in relationship, new connections, to bring more justice and balance. The 7th house is ruled by Libra. So here we can kind of feel that, like, if you have a 7th house, Gemini, if the area of 21 Gemini and through 11 Gemini is in the 7th house, then there's a very good chance that the area that you are expanding your conscious connections to and finding new ways to communicate and express yourself in is in your relationships. Okay. I will, of course, as I always do, have a copy of the chart that I ran. When I share this link over in the Patreon, you can head on over there. The chart that I ran is for the 1010 portal, not specifically for Jupiter retrograde, just so you know. Now, I mentioned that we have this like amazing book-ending energy, right? We have Jupiter shifting backwards. Then we have the 1010 portal, and then we have Pluto shifting direct. Pluto is going to shift direct on the 11th or 12th, depending on where you are, and begin the slow move, not that slow, but slow. It's still Pluto. Slow move back to Aquarius. On the 20th of November, Pluto will re-enter the 0 degree of Aquarius, and at that point will not return to Capricorn for more than a century. So this is really like, as we move forward, as Pluto moves forward, we are really starting to find those new foundations. And we're being asked to let go of a lot in this cycle. I mean, here in the United States, we're going to have a pretty intense election during this period between when Pluto goes direct and re-enters Aquarius. So you can feel through that the level of restructuring that's on offer during this cycle. On 1010. Let me feel. First, let's say, what is the 1010 portal? What does the 1010 represent? You can feel it in that 1010 energy. If you have any relationship to binary code, the ones and zeros that create the structure of all of the electronics, all of the communication devices and computing devices that we engage in every day. Most of us, especially if you're watching this, we engage with every day. These ones and zeros create the fabric. A 1010 is a completion into the void, birthing the new into the void again. And this year it's 10-10-8 because 2024 is an 8 year, which means 1010 infinity. It just goes on. We are beginning, going through the void, going through the void. And it can feel a little bit discombobulating because we are completing something and instantly creating the new. We're starting to feel that place where the light at the end of the tunnel is also the light of emergence when we come out of the womb. That cycle. Death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. And this year on the 1010 portal, we have the sun at 17 degrees of Libra. We have the moon at 17 degrees of Capricorn, exactly conjunct Isis, rebirthing energies, remembering energies, divine birthing energies, unified energies. The moon in Capricorn is exactly square the sun. That's a first quarter moon. And then across the wheel, in the shadow of retrograde already, we have Mars at 19 degrees of Cancer. This is bringing us into connection with the energies of Mars's retrograde, which is going to begin in December. And I'll have another video about that because that's big. While this is all occurring, We then have Chiron at 21, still retrograde in Aries. Now, because Mars is at 19, that brings a tight orb for squaring with Chiron. It connects us in to the energies of the Aries full moon that's happening on the 17th of October, because that moon is going to be almost exactly conjunct Chiron at 24 degrees. So here we get to start playing with the energies of that big super Aries full moon. And there will be another video about that one as well. But in this 1010 portal, we are cardinal squaring, cardinal grand crossing Chiron and the sun, beginning to activate that opposition of how we relate to the world, the sun in Libra, and our fears of abandonment if we are our true I am, and getting into the deep nooks and crannies of that place. And here we have that Jupiter retrograde in Gemini again energy, right? We get to start to feel this push-pull between our sense of belonging, Mars in Cancer, our fears that we will be shunned or ostracized or abandoned if we speak our full truth, our ways in which we have presented ourselves in our relationships. There's the sun in Libra, Chiron in Aries. And then on the 1010 portal, births and deaths and births and deaths and births and deaths, restructuring those unconscious, the moon, ways of creating our foundations in the world, Isis and the moon in Capricorn. And this is all happening as Pluto is moving through the last turns of its time in Capricorn. Chiron and Jupiter are also engaged during the 1010. Both Chiron and Jupiter by the 1010 portal will be moving backwards. They will be exactly sextile to one another, exactly sextile to one another. A gifting bridge is a sextile. It's a mini trine. It helps us connect to gifts that seem too far away. It helps us to leap. It's like a little stepping stone in the middle of the river that helps us to get to the next place. So if you can feel that energy of Jupiter's retrograde through Gemini of giving us greater access, inviting greater access to our unconscious and subconscious communication. And then we feel Chiron retrograde in Aries, inviting us to explore those ways in which we mute ourselves in order to stay in situations that do not serve us, or from a place of fear that if we speak our truth, there will be consequences that we do not want to, there will be confrontations that we do not want to engage in. A lot of us, especially recovering people pleaser light workers, have a really hard time with confrontation because we have been so sensitive all of our lives that we can feel even the slightest, most subtle disappointment or hurt within someone else. And the idea of being responsible for that, we would much rather hurt ourselves because it hurts too much to feel theirs. Does that make sense? So part of what we are being invited to explore through this sextile is, what if saying that true thing is more like the ripping off of a Band-Aid that doesn't need to be there anymore and actually allows the wound to heal? They are in a yod, a finger of God. Chiron and Jupiter, both retrograde, are pointing directly at Venus at 21 degrees of Scorpio. Now, this Venus placement puts it exactly across the wheel from the 21-degree Taurus point where Jupiter and Uranus in May had their exact conjunction, activating that point of expanded awakening again through love, through magnetism, through passion and desire. Venus in Scorpio. Let's feel the energy of our desires untethered. Our deepest, most secret desires revealed, brought to the surface. If we awaken to those deep unconscious desires, part of what we get to do is see how we've been magnetizing maybe a partner or a state of being in some way through that unconscious desire we didn't even know we had because we didn't want to acknowledge it existed. So then we have our wound and the master healing capacity of that energy with Chiron in Aries retrograde, diving deep into that place of who we truly are, sextile to Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, making our large S, our expressions larger, our deep undercurrent expressions larger, gifting us with greater access to those hidden realms, pointing at that feminine creation, magnetization energy in Scorpio. Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. Bringing us all into this really powerful exploration and inviting us to remember that whether we are doing the work and bringing these patterns, these projections, these unconscious desires to the surface or not, they are running the show. They are running the show because we are constantly creating. We are constantly creating. We are calling things into ourselves. We are asking for things. We are, like all of our cells, in a constant state of communication with that energy that we sometimes call the void, with that place of all potentiality, all possibility. And when we ask for something, this is like manifestation, right? When we ask for something, we're like, please, 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 I would really like, I desire deeply, I need this thing, this expression, this type of relationship, this type of community, whatever it might be. We can ask and ask and ask and ask and ask until the cows come home consciously. But if we are not also asking for that thing in our unconscious and subconscious realms, it's those that are actually creating. Because when we say the thing out our mouths, we're not saying it from our core of being. We are asking and then putting our hand up and saying, no, actually, I don't want that. So there is a very powerful invitation during this 1010 portal to start the process, of bringing, as Jung would say, that unconscious into the conscious, so that it no longer rules our lives and we call it fate. Instead, we bring it forward and we say, oh, I see you. Are you really true? Do I really need that thing? And if the answer is yes, accepting that the answer is yes, that for whatever reason, that thing that you don't think you want, but that you really want, is still true for you. And then being with it and then saying, are you still true? Are you still true? I see you. Some of us believe things about ourselves because we have been told them by someone else. A lot of us believe things about ourselves because we have been told them by someone else. And those things are actually running the script because they were told to us at a formative time, at a vulnerable time, because they hit upon something that we are here to learn about in this incarnation. This cycle of Jupiter retrograde is our invitation for each of us individually to start to go deep into those old ways of communicating with ourselves. Perhaps it'll help for you if you journal. The dream time is especially potent right now. We have Neptune retrograde exactly square the galactic center. So during this cycle, through the rest of this year, we are navigating the dream times in a very, very powerful way. You can set intent before you go to sleep. Please, God, divine source, my higher self, angels, beings of divine light, team and guides, whatever words feel true to you as you go to sleep. Let the unconscious pattern that I most need to see rise up to be revealed to me in this dreamtime journey. And then when you wake up, write it down so that you remember what it is, so that you can see it and bring it into your conscious understanding. And then explore what you need to do or how you need to be with that unconscious remembering. Like I said, I'm going to have another video about the Mars retrograde, and I'll have another video even sooner about the Aries supermoon, which is on the 17th of October. This feels like an opportunity to start to prepare for the deep karmic work and realignment energy of that Aries supermoon. If you enjoyed this video, please do like it. Please do subscribe and hit the little notification button so you know when I go into one of these energy updates again. Come on over to the Patreon. You can check out the chart that I ran. I'm also going to put a link to the astro.com so that you can figure out how to run your own chart if that's something that interests you. If it calls to work together one-on-one, you can request a consult. There will be a link below. There's links below for companion energy updates to the Patreon. We did some really powerful work over the Libra new moon and our new moon circle, and I'm going to be drawing some cards shortly here for our daily divination, which I will post in the community space as well. Let me know in the comments how this ride is going for you, and if you have anything to share, if you have any questions, you can come over to the Patreon and join the community there in some form, or you can leave me a comment here, whatever's true for you. And yeah, as always, in the always, from, through, and beyond the all dimensions. So much and many loves to you.